Would you like to be somebody who understands why modern man, why humans in modern Western societies tend to lack depth and be shallow in their perspectives of reality, how reality works, and more importantly, of human nature and how human nature really functions? Then listen to this entire video where I explain how or why actually humans nowadays lack complicated, complex understanding of their psyche, of the nature of themselves, and actually how the lack of understanding has caused pathological symptoms in the mind. So before we get into this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, dating, Jungian psychology, and how to reduce suffering in life. Let's get into it. So I think many people nowadays in Western societies do not see the complexity of the human. They do not believe that humans are special and have intrinsic value. They believe all that there is to the human is body. All there is matter, like physical matter. And their attitude is sort of, if you can't see it, if you can't feel it, it's not there. For example, they see sex as simply physical pleasure, and in their eyes, the consequences of the act of sex stops once the act is over. Like, that's it. It's just a purely physical activity, and that's it. There's no consequences. It all exists and occurs in the realm of the act, and nothing outside of it is affected by it. They do not see the interconnectedness of the body and the mind, and this is I think this myopic perspective is deleterious and pernicious over the course of life, because people with a myopic attitude towards the human being do not see how their actions and thoughts determine the course of other lives. And this also has ethical implications, because they do not take the ethical consequences of their actions serious enough. And that is dangerous. They underestimate the effects that their actions have on the outcome of lives of the people around them and themselves. But more importantly, they do not see how they are complicit in the suffering of themselves and the people around them. Yeah. They struggle to see the causal effects that are occurring or playing out in their lives. They lack understanding of why they are suffering mentally, because they do not believe anything to do with the intricacies of the psyche and how the source of their problem might lie in their psyche, when actually the reason they are suffering is because maybe they have no meaning in life, and at an existential level they are living in poverty, like spiritually also, and they don't believe that mumbo jumbo, and that's suboptimal, I would say. Alright, so the question arises then, why do modern people not see the complexity and the spiritual aspect of human nature? One key source of this phenomenon is, I would say, the scientific revolution that started, I believe, in the 1500s, where Western European societies tended to place a greater value on finding scientific truth and knowledge. And that's led to the decline of Christianity, which was a belief system that tried to spark the conscience within humans and try to get people to behave ethically, let's say, and also entail a lot of spirituality, and I think was a representation, a relatively accurate, I stress, relatively accurate representation of human nature, and try to guide humans in a way that would benefit themselves and the people around them, let's say. And the scientific revolution placed value on seeking the truth, and of course Christianity and a lot of other religions entail dogmatic axioms that aren't backed by evidence, hence the Christian church was devalued. And then the emphasis on ethical conduct, on the conscience, on spirituality declined. A second reason why I think people have essentially drifted from spirituality and the belief that there is more to life than just the physical and reproduction and survival is that religious believers nowadays, or I would assume in the past also, seem naive and brainwashed. Like if you ask some religious representatives, they use a type of language that sounds like they're regurgitating what they read in the Bible. They are not really speaking authentically. They're spouting sentences along the lines of, yeah, I do this, I behave like this because Jesus did it. And of course, for the modern, skeptical, scientific mind of the human of the West and in Western countries, they think, what are you talking about? I don't get you. I don't understand you, and you sound brainwashed. And of course, that is unattractive. So scientific thinking people try to detach from that and not be like that. Not just don't try it out, but actively not try to be like that, or try to not be like that. And see, the modern person values science and is skeptical of dogma and axioms that are not based on any evidence. And this is quite useful in some sense because it prevents people from falling for wacky belief systems that aren't backed by facts. And a reason for the skepticism may be due to our society valuing truth very highly, potentially above everything else. But this also has a severe downside because it has led humans to become rigid in their skepticism. They believe that if science cannot prove something to be true, then that means it doesn't exist or it's not real. And that is a dangerous attitude because we really know very little about the universe and human nature. Even with science, we only comprehend a marginal fraction of how the world and humans function. Hence, if you shut down any proposition about human nature that isn't proven by science, then you block the opportunity to broaden your knowledge and wisdom. And the thing with science is, it struggles to measure the human because there is an aspect to human nature which is particularly, or is peculiar and doesn't seem to function in the realm of matter, of the physical realm. For example, dreams, the sudden appearance of random thoughts, caprices. Like, how are you going to measure where dreams come from? Dreams don't seem to be random images in the brain, in my eyes. They are quite clear stories with narratives that fit nicely into your real world life, as in they tend to mean something and try to tell you something that can help you. But I do not think scientists are in the possession of instruments that can measure the origin of dreams. And part of the scientific revolution entailed the belief that everything in life can be measured by mathematics. And that might be true, but if you do not have the mathematical laws to explain the phenomenon of dreams, then either the maths cannot explain everything, or your set of math equations and laws is too limited. So there's something not quite falling into place. And I also think, like, a lot of people nowadays are quite dissatisfied with their lives. They are depressed, they are nihilistic, they just, like, there's a general ominous atmosphere of, not ominous, gloomy atmosphere of dissatisfaction. And I think that's a symptom of a deep-rooted existential issue. And I think it is one that nihilism produces, because nihilism is the belief that there is no value in everything, there's no meaning in everything, and no matter how you behave, the outcome will be the same. And that's actually disaligned, I think, with the true nature of reality, because you can behave in some ways and produce a lot of suffering for people and yourself, and then you can behave in better ways and produce less suffering and actually find something meaningful that makes your life worth living. So it is not trivial in the sense of how you behave the way you behave doesn't matter. That's just not right. And that is, in some sense, a dissociation from the true nature of reality, and it's kind of like a lie. And therefore, because it is a dissociation, where the mind and body are out of touch with the true nature of reality, symptoms of suffering occur. And I've made a lot of videos on dissociation. You can check on my channel describing what dissociation is. But humans are deprived of a fundamental need, and I think it is a fundamental need that is part of their nature, which is, I don't like to use the word spiritual because it has, people think it's like fluffy, but there is a part of human nature that is beyond the physical. and humans are deprived of the sense. It's not a sense. Deprived of the need for the teaching, the need for explaining what that is, or the need for guidance in how to direct that non-physical aspect of themselves. So, in conclusion, modern people are shallow and lack depth in some sense because they do not comprehend the complexity of themselves, especially, and of the complexity of reality. Or they do understand the complexity of reality, but let's say more the complexity of themselves, of human nature, of the human psyche, and how the body and mind are deeply interconnected, and how their actions have immense ripple effect, like the butterfly effect, on the rest of the world. And this is due to because of reasons like the scientific revolution, because religious representatives seem naive, and just it's a symptom of dissociation in that there is a reality that goes on, and the further you drift from it, the more pathologies arise in your mind and body. And modern people are quite detached from the true nature and therefore suffer, and they're detached from it because they do not understand the nature of it and how their body and mind is trying to absorb knowledge of nature, of reality, but they are not listening to it in some sense, I would say. So please leave a comment below whether you agree with this, that modern people lack depth in their understanding of reality because they are detached from the true nature of themselves, or whether you disagree with it, or leave any feedback you have to this perspective that I just tried to portray. In the next video, I will dive into how modern people are dissociated from the true nature of reality, in that they either their mind and body are out of sync, or they are out of touch with reality. And I list 3 examples of how they're misaligned with reality, how they're out of touch with their body, and finally how the mind is dissociated from the body and reality. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, dating, Jungian psychology, and how to reduce suffering in life altogether. Thank you for listening.